Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we have for you the power rankings of the teams that were in the stage playoffs. So a little bit different power rankings than normal. We're only ranking 8 teams instead of ranking 20 teams. But we're here to wrap up the stage 1 season, or stage 1 of the 2019 season. So we're going to go over most of the same things as usual, but with less teams. We didn't do this last year, for anybody who did watch the power rankings last year. We didn't do this because the stage playoffs were a one-day thing. They were only on Sundays. And then they were over. And the power rankings went up on Sundays, and then I didn't do another video, so that was a thing. That was different. So, so this here, power rankings are different from the previous one. I still have New York ranked as the best team, because they were the best team, in my opinion, throughout the first 7 games. Stage playoffs are their own thing. So, of course, Vancouver Titans were the Stage 1 champions over the San Francisco Shock. And there were some good games here in the Stage playoffs, and I'm going to admit I didn't watch them all. I watched Seoul play New York, and then I watched Seoul play Vancouver, and then I watched the finals, the final day, just because I didn't really care to watch Boston get absolutely wrecked. And then I wasn't home for Seoul and Vancouver and San Francisco and Philadelphia, but I just watched Seoul and Vancouver on my phone where I was at. And I wasn't using more data than I already did, because I used like 5 gigabytes just to watch one game. So I was using more data to watch more games. But either way, we're there. Another interesting thing that happened this week was I had a discussion on Twitter with a Boston Uprising extremist, as the kids would say. And this dude was wild. So, real quick, before we get into it, or before we get into the power rankings, I will explain. So, there was a tweet from the play, or the extra match that they did, Seoul Dynasty, San Francisco Shock. They said, oh, San Francisco wins 3-0, or whatever. So this dude tweets, just, at Overwatch League, he's like, oh, Seoul Dynasty's the worst team in the stage playoffs. I didn't know this dude was into Boston at the time, but I just tweet, oh, Boston's the worst team in the stage. And this dude goes wild and responds to me. He's like saying all this wild stuff. So I'm just like, they're not good. He's like, but Seoul beat Boston, or Boston beat Seoul. And I'm like, okay. So then, we go back and forth for a little bit. And then this dude, I tweeted this dude after Seoul beats New York and Boston loses. I'm like, so is Seoul still the worst team in the stage playoffs? And then this dude's like, because I tweeted before about Seoul losing to Boston, like, one game doesn't really matter. I mean, if you lose that but you still have a winning record, doesn't matter ultimately. But this dude was so, like, hurt. And then, so he tweets at me a screenshot of, I don't know, whatever, Boston won 3-1 against Seoul earlier in the season. He's like, this is all I need. And then I'm like, still below Seoul in the standings. And then I went on Twitter a couple minutes ago, and his he blocked me. I'm just like, alright. Which is fine, because then I don't have to see the stuff. But it's kind of funny to get blocked by someone. Because if someone who blocks you in that sense, like if somebody's annoying you when you block them, it's kind of funny. But if you go back and forth with somebody, then block them because they win the argument. I mean, he said I was a troll at one point. So that was funny. I enjoyed it. I always like a good... I prefer to have a normal discussion with somebody, but, I always like to be able to drag somebody. It's always fun. So, with that, the way we're going to do it this week is we're going to break down each game individually. We're not going to go over, the first team, they played against this team like we normally do. We'll just be repeating ourselves too much. So, the first game of the day, March. Well, here's the first thing. The teams total, there's $500,000 on the line for all these teams. So, whoever wins, I think, is $200,000. I believe. We can check the Overwatch League app, because I know it says it on there. This computer has had to update. It doesn't say. I know it did before, but I think it's 300 or 200,000 the Vancouver Titans get. And then San Francisco gets 100,000, and then the other teams got to divide up the other 2,000 between 6 of them. I don't know. I think that's how it works. But either way, teams that were in the stage playoffs: Seoul Dynasty, New York Excelsior, Boston Uprising, Vancouver Titans, Atlanta Reign, Philadelphia Fusion, San Francisco Shock, and Toronto Defiance. So let's take a look at how these teams are or were ranked. Boston Uprising was 8th. They were 7-3, map differential of 3. Then we had Seoul Dynasty and San Francisco Shock, both 4-3, map differential of 5. They had a game against each other to decide who was 6th and who was 7th. San Francisco won that to get 6th. Atlanta was 5th. They were 4-3. And they had a differential of 6. And then Toronto and Philadelphia are both 5-2, differential of 5. They had a coin toss, which I believe Philadelphia won. So Philadelphia took on Atlanta, I believe. Did they take on Atlanta? They did. Philadelphia took on Atlanta. Toronto then had to take on San Francisco. Then New York 7-0. They were 2nd with a differential of 16. Also 7-0, Vancouver Titans, differential of 18. So let's get into it. The first game, the upset of the stage. Exciting one for me as a fan of Seoul Dynasty. But the upset overall, 3-1 win for Seoul Dynasty. For the quarterfinals, was first to 3 maps. The semifinals and the finals was 1st to 4. So Seoul Dynasty and New York Excelsior, the upset of the stage. Honestly, it could be the upset of the season so far. New York Excelsior falling to Seoul Dynasty 3-1. Everybody was thinking it was going to be New York and Vancouver for the championship, and Vancouver would ultimately fall to New York. But New York got eliminated by Seoul Dynasty, Seoul's first ever stage playoff, getting the win against the team people predicted would win the championship. And ultimately, Seoul's first ever win in the stage playoffs. And again, their first win over New York. They played New York 5 times before this. Stage 1, 2, 3, and 4 last year. And stage 1 of this season, losing to them every single time. And then to come out and get the win against New York Excelsior in the stage playoffs. It was pretty exciting. Now, Seoul Dynasty is my favorite team. My second favorite team is New York Excelsior. I got this hat right here. I do like them a lot, but when it ultimately comes down to it, I got to root for Seoul Dynasty. But if it's a match the Seoul's not in, if it's not Seoul versus New York, I want New York to win. The other time that I want New York to lose is when they play Seoul. Like, I'd love to have both teams go through the whole season and Seoul go undefeated and New York have 1 loss or 2 losses every time they play Seoul. I just like the team so much. So Seoul Dynasty took Deviious and Hollywood. New York did come back, take Volskaya 5-6, very tight match there. And then Seoul Dynasty won on Rialto 3-2. So the second match of the quarterfinals, we've seen Vancouver Titans absolutely destroy the Boston Uprising, causing one of my tweets at this dude. But the Titans absolutely just crushed Boston. 2-0 on Deviious, 2-1 in Kings Row, 2-1 Temple of Anubis, over very, very quickly. The next day, we see the third match of the quarterfinals. Atlanta Reign, Philadelphia Fusion. I didn't watch either one of these games, I will admit, because I'm not interested in any of these teams. I mean, I like Toronto to win just because they're an all-Korean roster, but I don't really have that much invested into liking them as the other 4 all-Korean rosters. I didn't know they were an all-Korean roster until, like, week 4. Honestly, I didn't pay attention to the team. But Philadelphia and Atlanta did take Deviious to start 2-1. Philadelphia came back, taking Kings Row 2-1. Volskaya 4-3, so that one went into extra rounds there, it looks like. And then Philadelphia Fusion and Atlanta Reign. Route 66, Philadelphia winning that 2-1. That one didn't go far. Alright, then the final matchup. Honestly, surprising to me, I thought Toronto would beat San Francisco. I know San Francisco is a very, very strong team. and they're good, but I still thought they had a little bit of improving to do, and Toronto just, to me, I did have them ranked as the third best team in the league, and it seems like every time I rank a team as the third best team, something happens. So here we go again. Obviously, this won't affect their ranking, and the thing that will shake up the rankings for the actual season will be what we have in a couple weeks. I'll let you know what day that is going to come out. But either way, San Francisco, Toronto, 3-0 in favor of San Francisco. Busan, 2-1. Kings Row, 3-0. Wow. And then 3-2 on Horizon. Whatever team was higher seed got to pick the control map. And then whoever was the team that lost got to pick the next map. So that's what happened. So we have Seoul Dynasty, Vancouver Titans, San Francisco Shock, and Philadelphia Fusion in the semifinals, which was on Saturday. Seoul Dynasty and Vancouver Titans. I would love to see Seoul pull up the upset again, but pulling up one in the stage playoffs and getting a win, getting in the stage playoffs, beating New York was exciting enough for me. Even though ultimately see them lose to Vancouver. Again, I wasn't super watching it. I mean, I had it on my phone. I wasn't listening to it or anything. I just had it like there because we had done a family event. A bunch of family went to a Korean restaurant, got Korean barbecue, and then everybody went different places. But then my parents and I just went with my brother specifically to a coffee shop. And we just sat and talked for a couple hours, but I just had the game on my phone when we were all talking. So again, I was more invested in our conversation, but I was still, watching the game a little bit. But Vancouver took Busan 2-0, took Hollywood 4-3, took Temple of Anubis 3-2, and then Rialto 4-3. So Vancouver really rolled through their first two opponents, both Boston and Seoul, which will ultimately talk about how much they didn't roll through their competition in the next match. But San Francisco and Philadelphia also was a pretty lopsided match. I did predict a 4-0 in this one. San Francisco and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, again, to me, they're just one of those overhyped teams. I put Philadelphia, Boston, and Houston all in that same category. They're teams that, have potential, never show it, and just get overhyped for it. And that's the thing. I think that of the teams with potential, Philadelphia is the best one. But again, I feel like all three of them are overhyped. They achieve one little thing, and everybody's like, oh, they're really good. Like Boston managed to win 10 games in a row, stage 3, and everybody's like, oh, they're the best team in the stage, and then they get crushed by New York, and everybody's like, all right, Boston's trash again. And Philadelphia goes to the stage playoffs. They somehow beat New York. And then or the season playoffs, they beat New York, and then they go and play London and get crushed, and then it's like, all right, it's the same thing. I mean, and Houston hasn't really done anything, but they're one of those teams that got hyped up because of, I don't know, because they're Houston. But either way, San Francisco, Philadelphia, wasn't really close. San Francisco took Ilios 2-0, Hollywood 3-0, Ryzen 4-2, and then Rialto 3-0. San Francisco, to me, is a very strong team, and I would expect them to make the playoffs and go far at the end of the season. Then we get to the ultimate game that matters. This is for the Stage 1 championship. None of these teams have ever been Stage 1 champion, or have ever won a stage championship, or even been here. Vancouver being an expansion team, and San Francisco being a bottom team the first 2.5 stages last year. They really didn't start getting good until halfway through stage 3. Too late to do anything in stage 3. Stage 4, I believe they made the stage playoffs, or almost did. But they were still pretty early on into being good. Because the only teams that have won stage playoffs before today were London Spitfire won stage 1, New Excelsior won stage 2 and 3, and then Los Angeles Valiant won stage 4, which didn't really matter. I don't believe they're doing a stage 4 playoff actually this year, from what I've looked at on the app here. So this game was good. It was best of 7, so the first team to win 4 maps would win, and we got all 7. I was mad because I wasn't home for the beginning of it. I was out shopping, but I had, since the games were on ABC, I was able to record it. But then the recording decided, or they decided that there was a special news report for, I don't know, investigations of the president or some shit, which honestly I don't care. Because I'd rather watch Overwatch League than watch news. So that was on for the entire third map. But besides the third map, and then again for their special news report, during part of Ilios. So I watched mostly everything besides Temple of Anubis and part of Ilios. I think the second point I didn't get to watch much of, but besides that, I was able to watch the entire championship, which I was super excited about. And of course, I wanted Vancouver to win. I love the all-Korean rosters. Vancouver's the one that I was most excited about, and probably if Seoul and New York aren't playing, that's the team I'm going to pick, is Vancouver. So, we start out with Nepal, picked by Vancouver because they were the team ranked number 1. So they had map choice. They picked Nepal and lost 2-1 to San Francisco. So is Vancouver's map choice again, being the team that lost to San Francisco. They get to do the map pick. They picked Nambani and won 2-0. So, San Francisco gets the pick, and they pick Temple of Anubis, where they win 4-3. Again, didn't get to watch that one for, I don't know, dumb shit. And then, Game 4, we go to Dorado. Vancouver wins that 2-1. Very, very dominant fashion. And that there, I think, is the turning point of the match. Once they got through and got very close to the end of that. Actually, the way that they rolled through A and then got to B, honestly, that looked like, all right, this match is over. But it wasn't before San Francisco came back on the map that they picked, which was Ilios, where they won 2-1. So, at this point, the game's 3-2 in favor of San Francisco. All they got to do is close it out on Kings Row. San Francisco was able to get 2 points, not get to the finish, and then Vancouver comes in and pushes it to the end with a little bit of time to spare to win. So then we go to Rialto, and San Francisco pushes it all the way to the end. So they get 3 points. And at this point, tied 3-3 in the series. San Francisco got 3 points, pushing all the way to the end. And I think, all right, there's no way that we're going to see 2 teams push to the end of Rialto, both with a lot of time. So what does Vancouver do? After San Francisco pushes it and has a minute left in the time bank, they set the time record for the push on Rialto, and they had about 4 minutes starting the time bank left, meaning they only used about 3.5 minutes to push through all of Rialto and the time record in Overwatch history. So, the next push, each team gets their last push. San Francisco almost pushes to the end of A, gets stopped. They only had a minute to get there. Vancouver takes a little bit longer because they got a little bit of time. They get all the way to the end with about 2 minutes left. Or, I don't know, about 3 minutes left. It takes about a minute to get it themselves. Then they fight a little bit more. I think there's about 2 minutes left. And then they were able to get to the end, win it. And they were so excited. This team's obviously been together for a long time. Winning Contenders Korea. And then winning, just a couple of other things like that. Together, coming into the Overwatch League and really being impressive. To me, that's just really cool to see them stay together for so long. Yeah. So, we look now to the power rankings, and I have Boston. They're ranked 8th. I feel like they had the worst stage. Worst playoffs, should I say. They just, losing 3-0, not really much to say there for them. Next, you have New York Excelsior, ranked 7th. This is the lowest you've probably seen New York ranked for a while. Again, this doesn't affect the overall rank. That's held them ranked number 1 in the league because stage playoffs don't factor into the rest of it. But yeah, New York Excelsior ranked 7th. Again, losing 3-1 to Seoul Dynasty. It's not as bad as losing 3-0, but it's a big upset when you're expected to go all the way to the end. And I have them 7th. Atlanta Reign, I have them at 6th. Again, 3-1 lose to Philadelphia. I don't know. Not really that good for Atlanta. Not really much to Atlanta. I don't know anything about that team. I don't think I've even watched them play. I think like the only team that I haven't seen play. Because let me look here. I've seen Vancouver, obviously. San Francisco I've seen. New York I've seen. Philadelphia I don't think I've actually seen. Seoul, Boston, Dallas. I believe maybe Florida Mayhem. I think Philadelphia Fusion, Atlanta Reign, Florida Mayhem are the only teams that I haven't watched. The next team I do have... wait. How do I have this ranked? I have one team in here twice. Alright, so most of the teams went by where they got eliminated, but Philadelphia Fusion did not. They had the easiest team to beat, being Atlanta, and then they got 4 by San Francisco, so not really impressive. So I have Philadelphia Fusion in 5th. Toronto Defiant losing 3-0 against San Francisco Shock has them in 4th, just because they lost to San Francisco in that match. I don't know. The bottom teams don't really matter. Honestly, those ones I didn't really know. I just had to put them in here. You're ranking 8 teams off of playing one match. It's pretty hard. It's kind of like doing day or the first week of the season. It's kind of hard to just do. So honestly, I have 3rd with their impressive victory over New York Excelsior. Even with a loss to Vancouver, it was very impressive to get the win. San Francisco in 2nd. 2 wins of 3-0. Or a 3-0 and a 4-0. Ultimately, they fall very, very close, but still fall short of beating Vancouver, who ultimately is ranked number 1 because they won 3-0 against Boston, 4-0 against Seoul Dynasty, very close in the 3-4 against San Francisco, but they were ultimately the winner in the end, so that's what matters. So again, Boston 8, New York 7, Atlanta 6th, Philadelphia 5th, Toronto 4th, Seoul 3rd, San Francisco 2nd, and Vancouver 1st. So, I'll look forward now. Yeah, we don't have a playoffs. We do not have Stage 4 playoffs this year. That's the thing that I just want to throw out there because I talked about that. So we won't have Stage 4 playoffs because I guess it didn't really make sense to do Stage playoffs and then season playoffs back to back. So ultimately we won't have a Stage champion for Stage 4. So it looks like Los Angeles Flying will be the only Stage 4 champions ever. Again, it didn't really matter because I think New York could have won it, but they really didn't seem to try. Because why are you going to go hard to win a Stage championship when the season championship is right there? So, I'll look forward. Stage 2, Week 1. The games that we will have here. Thursday, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Atlanta, Shanghai, Los Angeles, Gladiators, and Guangzhou, and Paris. Day 1, I'd say look out for Philadelphia and New York. Day 2, April 5th. We have London and Florida, Washington, Toronto, Los Angeles Valley and San Francisco, Los Angeles Gladiators, and Seoul. I think in that one, obviously I'm going to recommend every Seoul game just because I love Seoul Dynasty. Los Angeles Valley and the San Francisco Shock, that's always good. The best teams from California playing against each other. Los Angeles Valiant, San Francisco Shock. Again, 2 best California teams. Always that rivalry. I'd recommend that. Let's see. Saturday. Again, this is April 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So, April 8th, we'll be back with our power ranks. Just throw that out there real quick. Florida, Philadelphia, Toronto, Boston, New York and Shanghai, Chengdu, and Paris. I mean, New York and Shanghai could be good, just because Shanghai has an improved roster, but none of those games really pop out to me. Then we got Saturday, San Francisco, Guangzhou, Atlanta, and London, Vancouver, Hangzhou, Washington, and Chengdu. Vancouver and Hangzhou, that could be good. So, we will be back on April 8th with our power rankings. So we have a week off, right? Because this video goes up on the 25th. Yeah, so April 1st, we will not have power rankings videos, but we do have a special non-Overwatch League video going up that day to check out. But we will be back in 2 weeks, Monday, April 8th, with power rankings for Stage 2. Week 1 of Stage 2 begins, and then we have a couple weeks. We do have the first travel week. We have Ultimate Weekend Dallas, week 4. That one will be interesting to watch. Paris, London, Hangzhou. Trying to do Houston, Seoul, Los Angeles Valiant, and Dallas all play those days. All those teams play Saturday and Sunday in the end of April for the Ultimate Weekend Dallas. And then stage playoffs begin May 9th. But again, we will see you guys on April 8th for the Stage 2 Week 1 Power Rankings. We're going to be back. We're back at it in a couple weeks. I'm super excited to sort of see what changes. I know there's a lot of meta changes. We made a whole separate video on that. Baptiste in the game, Paris in the game. Paris being in the Overwatch League. Same with Baptiste. Some of the patch changes from 1.34. And just, seeing how Baptiste will change the meta. It won't be super apparent probably until week 2 or 3. But once the meta changes, that will most likely be very, very similar to what we'll see from the meta for the rest of the season. Because there's no new character to really shake up the meta. Sort of like we've seen with Brigitte when she came in Stage 4 last season. That really started to shake things up. But we really didn't even see GOATs get played until this season. So the 33 comp wasn't super popular then. So I don't know. We'll sort of see how Baptiste will change the game. But I'm very, very interested in that. So we'll see you guys April 8th here back for Power Rankings. Stage 1 or Stage 2 Week 1. We probably won't have any Overwatch League videos until then unless something wild goes down. But I'm not sure. So we'll see you guys then.